There is a desert in the Yukon where sand dunes rise out of nowhere. A lake in Saskatchewan so salty it physically cannot let you sink. And yet most Canadians have never heard of it. Today we are covering 6 places in Canada that look like they belong somewhere in the Middle East. The place at number 1 is so extreme, scientists use it as a stand-in for Mars. Number 6, the Carcross Desert, Yukon. The world's smallest desert. The Carcross Desert is the exposed sandy bottom of a glacial lake that disappeared after the last ice age. What remains is a field of active sand dunes, roughly 1 square kilometre in area, sitting in the southern Yukon. It is not the scale that makes it remarkable, but the setting. Standing in the Carcross dunes with glacial peaks rising behind turquoise water feels unlike anywhere else in Canada. The closest visual comparison is the desert margins of Iran and Afghanistan, where sand dunes sit at the foot of dramatic mountain ranges with unexpected water in between. The dunes support their own unusual ecosystem. Specialized plants and insects that have adapted to the harsh, dry microclimates survive here and nowhere else in the Yukon. The town of Carcross is a short walk away. The dunes sit right at the edge of the community, accessible without any hike, and completely ignored by most Canadian travel content. Prelate, Saskatchewan, home to around 100 people, sits in a remote southwestern corner of the province, far from most Canadian destinations. Yet it is surrounded by nearly 1,900 square kilometres of one of the country's largest undisturbed sand dune ecosystems. The Great Sand Hills are not a provincial park in the traditional sense. They are a working landscape. Ranching happens here and the grasslands are grazed, but large sections of active dunes rise out of the prairie with almost nothing built around them. The tallest dunes reach over 30 metres. The Sahara Edge is what comes to mind, where the desert meets the Sahel. It is a landscape that does not resolve cleanly into a Canadian category, which is exactly why almost nobody knows it. The dunes here have been documented since the 1800s. Scientists study them as a stable relic system. They are ancient. They were here before the ranching, before the roads, before Saskatchewan was a province. Number 4, Manitou Beach, Saskatchewan, the Dead Sea of Canada. Little Manitou Lake is not large. It is not particularly dramatic to look at from a distance, but step into the water and it immediately does not work the way water is supposed to work. You cannot sink. You can lean back with your arms at your sides and float effortlessly. The lake's salinity is roughly 3 times higher than the ocean. It is so dense with dissolved minerals, magnesium, sodium, potassium, that the water has the same buoyancy properties as the Dead Sea. Therapeutic bathing at Manitou Beach follows the same principle that has drawn people to the shores of the Jordan Valley for thousands of years. Mineral-saturated water that forces the body to float is credited with beneficial effects on skin conditions and joint pain. The town of Manitou Beach on the lake's western shore developed as a health resort in the early 20th century. About a 2-hour drive north of Saskatoon on Highway 2, it offers a Dead Sea-style experience without needing a passport. Number 3, Alberta's Badlands, Drumheller, and Dinosaur Provincial Park. The hoodoos appear first, strange columns of rock, capped with harder stone, that protected them from erosion while everything around them wore away. They stand like sentinels across an eroded valley that should not exist in the middle of the Canadian prairies. The Red Deer River carved this landscape over millions of years, exposing layers of sediment going back 75 million years. What the erosion revealed is the most densely packed dinosaur fossil site on Earth. Drumheller and Dinosaur Provincial Park together form Alberta's Badlands, a stretch of canyon and eroded terrain in south-central Alberta that, at times, looks strikingly like Wadi Rum, with red, orange and tan rock layered in horizontal bands. The land drops sharply from flat prairie into deep valleys, where the canyon walls rise in the same dramatic sculpted fashion as the sandstone formations of southern Jordan. Dinosaur Provincial Park is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It has produced over 40 species of dinosaur and is considered one of the most important paleontological sites on Earth. Number 2, Grosmorne Tablelands, Newfoundland. Most visitors come to Grosmorne National Park for Western Brook Pond for the boat tours through sheer-walled gorges, and they drive past the tablelands without stopping. This is a significant error. The tablelands are a piece of Earth's mantle, sitting on the surface. 480 million years ago, tectonic movement pushed rock from the ocean floor up onto the continent. The rock that was exposed is peridotite, the same material that forms the deep interior of the planet, the same rock found in ophiolite belts across Oman and across the mountains of the Arabian Peninsula. It is toxic to most plant life. It contains no topsoil. Almost nothing grows on it. The result is a vast, bare plateau of rust orange and ochre brown rock that rises above the surrounding green landscape of Newfoundland. Standing on the Tablelands Trail, surrounded by barren orange rock with nothing growing and the wind moving across open ground, it does not feel like Canada at all. The Tablelands Trailhead is a 10-minute drive from Woody Point in the southern section of Grosmorne. The walk is moderate. The payoff is one of the most geologically unusual landscapes on the planet. Number 1, Athabasca Sand Dunes, Saskatchewan. At the top of this list is a place most Canadians have never heard of. The Athabasca Sand Dunes sit on the southern shore of Lake Athabasca in northern Saskatchewan, along one of the most remote stretches of lakeshore in the country. The dunes stretch for over 100 kilometers, the longest active sand surface in Canada. Some dunes reach 30 meters in height. They rise directly from the lake's edge. It is the landscape that stops people. A cold northern lake, boreal forest at the edges, and in between, active pale sand dunes that shift with the wind. Scientists have identified several endemic plant species in the dunes, plants that evolved in isolation here and exist in no other location on the planet. The comparison to the Rub al-Khali, the empty quarter of the Arabian Peninsula, is not about temperature or climate. It is about scale and isolation. The Rub al-Khali is one of the largest continuous sand surfaces on Earth, defined not just by its size but by its emptiness. The Athabasca sand dunes carry that same quality. No roads reach them, no permanent infrastructure exists in the dune field. Access is by float plane or by a long canoe route down Lake Athabasca. Most visitors to Saskatchewan will never get within 500 kilometers of this place in their lives. NASA has used satellite imagery of the Athabasca sand dunes in comparative studies with Martian terrain. The barren, shifting extreme landscape reads as extraterrestrial in a way that almost no other place in Canada does. Drop the one that surprised you most in the comments and subscribe for more of Canada's beauty.